Hey everyone, welcome to the Dyl Pickle Movie Network. I am Dylan Randazzo. Are you ready to get nuts? Let's get nuts. We're talking about The Nut Job from 2014. This is part of our 2014 retrospective here on the channel and on my Letterboxd, where I'm going through films of 10 years ago and reevaluating them from a lens a decade later to see have they held up. Some that I haven't seen, like this one, a major blind spot, probably my biggest blind spot of the year. It's absolutely nuts that I haven't seen this film yet until now, but I'm very glad I did see it. The Nut Job is a crime heist comedy, as it's described, debatable. But it is produced by Toonbox Entertainment, not one of your marquee brand entertainment studios. It is actually a Canadian animated studio that brought you the acclaimed film Arctic Dogs. Have you ever seen Arctic Dogs? Nope, me neither. Also brought to you by Endgame Entertainment, which was founded in 2002. So obviously more of like an independent animated film, which is very interesting considering, this is the height of Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, Illumination is really bursting onto the scene. They just came out with Despicable Me a few years before at this point in 2014. So this is a very kind of like underdog story here, The Nut Job, based on the short animated film Surly Squirrel, which I shamefully haven't seen, but it's on the list. It's got to be on that watch list. The voice cast pretty well assembled. You got Will Arnett, Brendan Fraser, kind of his comeback before his real comeback in The Whale. Liam Neeson, obviously Taken, genius. Katherine Heigl, Stephen Lang, Jeff Dunham, Gabriel Iglesias. I can never pronounce his last name right on the first try. Mr. Fluffy himself. So very good cast, very promising kind of underdog story, released in January. January. Yep. So
What'd you have for breakfast?
as we know, January is not necessarily where all our big marquee films are released every year. Nowadays, it's a little, give or take when it comes to January. We've seen some real big January breakouts in the last few years. They released one of the Scream sequels in January. We got Megan in January. Again, horror films. And not to say The Nut Job is not a horror film in its own right, but it's a very unique type of horror film. And the fact that it is more of a horrific experience than it is an actual horror genre film.
Holy macadamia. Lunch is served.
Now, I don't want to be taking all these jabs at The Nut Job because it is a meaningful film for this channel. And the reason I'm doing a review for The Nut Job on this channel in the first place, because let's be honest, how many views is this going to get? Probably like 6, maybe 7, 8. But I really wanted to do this review because this is an important piece of the Dyl Pickle Movie Network lore, and I want to kind of take you in behind the scenes. This is something the hosts really know about. This is something that I know about, obviously, because I'm doing this video. But way back when, 3 years ago when I started this channel, I made a video and then we released our first episode of Marvelous Movie Mondays. And then my third video was a most anticipated film video for 2021, talking about the films I was most excited to see in 2021, stuff like Kong and Godzilla, stuff like Dune at the time, which I do believe got released in 2021. That one wasn't delayed. It had been delayed or something. Spider-Man No Way Home, all these big 2021 releases. And then under my video, I get a comment. And it's always exciting when I get a comment, especially from my friends, because I'm like, hey, my friends are watching my stuff. They're supporting me. But it's even cooler when you get a comment from a stranger because it shows that your videos are going beyond. They're really finding the algorithm out there, and it was really cool that this video had come across the lens of a viewer and a commenter. Now you can go on the video and look at who commented, but I am not going to name drop them just because I don't necessarily know if they want their information put out there. If you want to do the digging, you can probably find the person who made this comment. They did this public comment, but I am going to blur it out in this video for the images. But I thought it was really, really interesting because I personally hadn't heard of The Nut Job. I had maybe seen a poster once, but I post this video, and all of a sudden I get not just one, not just two, but 3 comments all about The Nut Job, whether or not I think The Nut Job 3 is going to come out, whether or not, I think it's going to see any more delays. And then it got into like the more existential questions of like, what do you think of this childhood meeting before romance adulthood between a male and female? How do you think Surly and Andy would be if they were seen telling a flashback story about how they first met young before adulthood? All these things where I'm like reading all this stuff about The Nut Job, and I'm like, wait. First off, I am so amazed that someone's just found my channel that is not someone I know personally. Second off, I can't believe that they are so knowledgeable about The Nut Job and they love it so much that they felt like they should comment on a stranger's video to implore them to talk about The Nut Job 3. Now, obviously, I had to break the bad news to this person and basically tell them that I don't think the Nut Job 3 is coming out, and if it is, it's probably delayed. And as of now, we still have not seen the Nut Job 3, which is kind of sad. I mean, it's been 3 years now, and we still haven't seen it. But then you look at these comments, and this person just keeps going and going and going about the Nut Job. It was so amazing to see that. I'm like, you know what? For this commenter to go out of their way to comment all about this Nut Job thing, I'm gonna watch it. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. And then I kept saying, you know what, I'm gonna watch it, and then I never watched it. And I feel bad about it. Cut to a few years later when I released my most anticipated video for 2023, talking about the films of 2023 that I'm excited to see. At that point, Dune 2, which then got delayed to 2024. That's the Dune film that got delayed. But talking about all the films in 2023 that I was really, really excited to see: Across the Spider-Verse, Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Elemental, all those films. And then out of the blue, they return. This commenter who I hadn't seen since. They said all they need to say about the Nut Job and how excited they were for the Nut Job 3. I broke the bad news that it looked like the Nut Job 3 wasn't going to come out in 2021. Cut to a few years later, and all of a sudden, now they are extremely excited because they hope 2023 will include the Nut Job 3, as well as many exciting movies. They are back in support of the Nut Job. This person is the number one Nut Job fan in the world. So for this person, I just want to say I am so inspired by your passion for this project and this film and the series, that I wanted to personally come on the channel and quite literally give you a review of the Nut Job for you, because you were one of my first commenters. There was kind of an inside joke amongst the hosts, like there's this one person who always comes out of hiding every single year, quite literally coming out of hibernation to share how excited they are about the Nut Job 3, and we still haven't gotten the Nut Job 3. And here's the thing: I don't think I'll ever watch the Nut Job 3. I don't think I'm even going to watch the sequel. I don't think I will ever think about this film again after today. But I just want to say, because of the passion that you have, I hope they make that third movie. And I really do hope that you continue checking in every few years to remind me that the Nut Job 3 still hasn't been released. So then hopefully someone up on the higher ups of that Canadian animation studio can say, you know what? Yeah, we haven't released the Nut Job 3 yet. I don't even know if it's filmed or written. I don't know how far along in production it is. But it was just one of these really amazing moments just to see this person pouring their love and soul into this comment section about a film that no one had probably thought about aside from this person. But I finally watched the Nut Job because I wanted to give this, commenter and this whole meme that has kind of become a meme amongst the other hosts of this channel, kind of give it its due and watch this film. And I didn't like it. But, there's something to be said about how uniquely bizarre it is at times, that I can see how it could become a meme in and of itself. I mean,
These nuts are ours!
and it's obviously like for kids, so there's a lot of like silly moments, there's a lot of cringe moments. It's just maybe not my type of film, especially looking at the animation of 2014. You have Big Hero 6, which just crushes you with the feels. How to Train Your Dragon 2, again, crushes you with the feels. Even stuff that's a little less highbrow, like the Penguins of Madagascar. There's good elements to all these animated movies. The Nut Job, I don't think, is necessarily one of them. The animation itself is not great. The characters, I find the lead character very, very annoying. I don't think he's very enjoyable to watch. Surly, I get he kind of comes around and makes a sacrifice at the end, but he also didn't need to make the sacrifice he made at the end. Here's the thing: this movie is just kind of its own little anomaly for me, and I really hate to kind of dig into all the flaws about it, like the fact that they're selling nuts in the park that all the squirrels want to eat, yet the actual nut cart has an acorn, which is the only type of nut that humans don't eat. So theoretically, if they're selling nuts in a park for humans to consume, they would probably put like a peanut or a cashew on the umbrella. Again, I'm overthinking so much stuff. I have the cinema sins part of my brain turned on when I'm watching something like this, because I'm watching it very clearly, not impressed with what it's doing contextually, that I need to find the flaws and pick it out. But that's not what I want to do here. I want to celebrate it for what it is.
Look at this thing. This is crazy. Woo, woo, woo. Has a mind of its own.
It hasn't gotten its third film. It did get a sequel. I'm very interested to hear what other people have to say about the sequel, even if I never check it out. Maybe I will check it out. You know what? Maybe if that commenter comes back for this video, I will check out the second one. But yeah, I didn't really find the relationships that engaging. I didn't think the romance was strong, if there even was one. They kind of hinted at one, and I think the commenter honestly got my hopes up that the romance would be even stronger here. I think Brendan Fraser, great actor, but really annoying character, Grayson. I think, Liam Neeson's probably the most competent of that voice cast as Raccoon. But again, seeing so many different Pixar and Disney films of this era, like it's very clear that Raccoon is going to be the bad guy. I mean, like let's be real here. From minute one, I'm like, no, this guy's bad news. He's lots of hug and bear in raccoon form, which is not great considering Guardians of the Galaxy kind of put raccoons back on the map and showed us some respect, only for this film to come out and say no, they're lying, cheating bastards. But Katherine Heigl, again, fan of Grey's Anatomy, so it was cool to hear her voice here. But again, not someone who I think is in like the public eye right now as much as she used to be. But again, very interesting film that I really don't know how to evaluate. Like, how do I assess this for what it is without going too much into frame wreck territory either? You know, it's not necessarily one of those so bad it's good films that we talk about on that show either. But you know what? I watched it. I experienced it. Halfway through, they just perform Gangnam Style. They literally start performing Gangnam Style like the whole number, and it just goes on and on. So much so that you're just so perplexed. And then the rest of the film plays out. And then at the credits, they bring it back. And not only are they doing Gangnam Style with the characters, but they have a animated version of Psy, the guy who wrote Gangnam Style and performed it, literally animated doing the the famous dance. So just a really bizarre, quite literally nuts experience. You know, it's a film that doesn't necessarily have the best animation, but sometimes animation's really detailed and really well done, like the fur on these characters, to where it's like, wait, did they just pick and choose what would look good, or is it all just very inconsistent? I'm not really quite sure. Again, the inconsistencies of time and place, like why is Gangnam Style a thing when you're very clearly marketing it as if it's taking place in the 50s or 60s? Is it taking place in the 50s or 60s? I'm really not sure when this takes place. There's so many scenes that you look at it and you're like, that's definitely a ripoff of Ratatouille. That's a ripoff of this film, of that film, you know.
We gotta get those nuts.
But again, it's its own thing, and clearly people love it because they loved it so much to take to my comment section to share their love for it. And you know what? At the end of the day, what I want this channel to be is a network for people to share their opinions, share their love for things that might not be well known. Like, why are we going to talk about, you know, the Planet of the Apes movies or How to Train Your Dragon? These franchises, they're very well established, have their fans. They're great movies, but I don't need to give you a review of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or How to Train Your Dragon 2. You know it's great. I don't need to give you a review on Interstellar. You have probably seen how stellar Interstellar is, but have you seen how nuts the nut job is? Probably not. So I think, you know what? If this sounds like your cup of tea, if you are a fan of like Over the Hedge and Ratatouille and want to see a slightly more like dollar store version of those films, check out The Nut Job. Why not? It's only an hour 20 minutes. You know, it's quick in and out. Maybe with credits, it's like an hour 10. You know, it's a quick watch. It's got funny animals. It's got nuts, a lot of nuts. Actually, this little girl gets like her face like shoved with a handful of nuts, which for a kids movie, it's kind of a weird image. Now that I think about it, but hey, The Nut Job. There it is. There's my review. I know I didn't go quite in depth about it. But hey, you know, if that is what my channel is doing, is bringing people together to share their love for certain films that I never thought about, and then I go check out a film because a commenter brought it to my attention, like that's the coolest thing ever, because it shows that what I'm doing is being seen and being recognized and being, you know, interacted with in some way, which is really, really cool. It's quite literally nuts that this is what I get to do for fun and hopefully in the future for a living. So if you want to help me make a living on this, comment, share, like, subscribe, blow up this video as much as you can. Let's go nuts for The Nut Job. Let's go Gangnam Style here as we approach the second half of the year and as we round out our retrospective very soon in just a few weeks. As I said with that retrospective, I've been doing a bunch of reviews on Letterboxd, but if you want to stay tuned on this channel, I'm going to be doing an A24 Year 2 review where I'm going to be reviewing all 10 A24 films that came out in 2014. They really went up from the year before where it was just like 5. Now it's doubled. It's 10. I will be reviewing all those films and ranking those films. And then at the end of the month, I am going to be doing a full top 14 of 2014 video, talking about my favorite films of the year at large. Maybe some honorable mentions if they come up, but you can always check out my Letterboxd to see what other films might have been on the bubble. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and please be kind if you decide to go check out those comments, because again, it is just a very endearing kind of meme story, because it's someone who's clearly so passionate about this specific franchise, which maybe I won't ever understand, but I understand what passion feels like, and that's what this person has. So be kind if you go check out those comments, and if you want to check out The Nut Job, check it out. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Thank you so much. Whoop 'em Gangnam Style. Have a good one.